Hello and welcome to Country House Confidential, a brand new podcast which follows two intrepid entrepreneurs and great people as they put everything, and I mean everything, into turning a sprawling country house into a thriving events and wedding venue. What could go wrong? As your host, I'm going to be a fly on the wall at Berwick House, spending time with husband and wife and business partners Will and Kassidy as they renovate Will's absolutely massive family house and turn it into a fully fledged and, fingers crossed, hopefully profitable events and wedding business. Now here's the rub. When they started, neither of them knew anything about running a business, let alone the kind of business where they need to provide their clients the perfect setting and magical experience for the most important day of their lives. I hope you will join me as we live and breathe Will and Kassidy's quite frankly bizarre existence, living in a house where you can literally get lost in the cellar, putting on events which bring out the best and worst in humanity. It promises to be quite a journey. In part, some well-needed couples therapy, and in part, a story of two young people trying to build a thriving business from scratch. I can guarantee you that it won't be dull. So get comfortable, maybe light a fire, definitely have a drink to hand, and enjoy Country House Confidential. Now, I met Will and Kassidy a couple of years ago while out walking my incredibly badly behaved Cocker Spaniel in the beautiful Shropshire countryside. They struck me as fun, energetic, if slightly nerdy, with a love of gaming, sci-fi, lightsabers, and absolutely massive dogs. Little did I know that they had taken on the stewardship of Berwick House, a grand red brick stately home set in the Shropshire countryside, bordered by the beautiful River Severn. Now, like most people, I have a pretty well-ingrained stereotype of the landed gentry, all tweeds and loafers and red trousers, show-offs who are bewildered by the trivialities of normal people and normal lives. Hunting, shooting, fishing, family crests, boarding schools, you get the picture. But Will and Kassidy couldn't be further from this stereotype. Yes, Will is the sixth generation of his family to have a go at running the house. However, he wears his privilege lightly. And as you'll find out, if you've always wanted the stately home of your dreams, be careful what you wish for. By his own admission, Will married extremely well. Kassidy, a razor-sharp Floridian, couldn't care less about pomp or circumstance, and seems to view stuffy British aristocracy with her own American take. Bemused and fascinated in equal measure. In short, they make a great couple to take on this mighty. On that note, a little bit on Berwick House. Well, it isn't your normal stately home. The architectural term, I think, for this kind of house is ginormous. It's one of the biggest houses you'll ever see. Google it and you get the picture. A classical red brick facade with row upon row of Georgian windows reaching up 3 stories, looking out onto manicured parkland with farmland beyond. In fact, when taking a look over the 3,000-acre estate, you will likely stumble upon the second oldest herd of Jersey cattle in the country, beaten only by the king himself. Even the supporting buildings are beguiling. Walk into the stables and you might stumble upon a 1950s Jag or a 19th century coach ready and waiting for their next outing. Take a walk to the 17th century almshouses where retirees with, and I quote, limited funds and a good character can see out their retirement. A short stroll away lies the chapel, a must-have for any self-respecting member of the landed gentry or aspiring wedding venue. The more adventurous can explore the abandoned gardener's cottage, which has, on occasion, become the set for zombie apocalypse movies. The house itself is a gem. Originally built in 1731 on the grounds of a manor house which dates back to the Dark Ages. Once inside, you can take a walk through its grand dining and drawing rooms, stumble upon the library or the billiard room, all framed by the beautiful Shropshire countryside. Enjoy a tipple at Berwick's well-stocked bar before climbing the grand central staircase to the 18 opulent suites, which wedding guests can use for the entirety of the weekend. You may be thinking, with some dread, that this is one of those boring, upper crust, showy-offy types of podcasts. Here's what I've got, you don't have it. I hate those kind of podcasts. However, Will and Kassidy are just not like that. Take a look at their website where they promise pomp and splendor, but without the stuffiness. In the About section of the website, you will find a portrait of a refined 19th century lady, armed with a mischievous grin. The caption underneath the photo, get on and have fun with it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we'll do. So, we are here today in your dining room, Will. Does this bring back memories for you of happy dinners round the table?
Yeah. I mean, we never really used this room as kids. We used most of the other house, but this room sat empty most of the time. I think partially because my grandparents never wanted to change the status quo.
You never had people in?
No, we never used it for dining.
So what did you use it for? This is quite a big room. If anyone's watching online, this is a massive room.
It is a very big room. Yeah, we use it for ceremonies now, and you can fit, is it 90 people in here for a ceremony?
About 100, yeah.
But as a kid, as I say, we didn't, it was just doors closed, lights off.
Really?
Yeah, we had to get the fire running over here, the fireplace, because it hadn't been used in so many years. So this dining table that we're sitting on was bought by Granny's dad, Folliott, back in the 1940s.
Sorry, your granny's dad was called Folliott.
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 Yeah. Is that a name?
Isn't that a great name?
Well, it isn't. I mean, everything's a name, isn't it? But Folliott.
Family name.
Yeah, good.
Going back about 16 generations.
Really?
Folliott Sandford Neal of the Isle, which is another big house in Shrewsbury.
Kassidy knows the family better than I do.
Honestly. You've been on Ancestry.com.
I've built the tree on Ancestry.
Have you really? Gosh, we'll have to take a screenshot of that. So this is a table that is not ancient, hundreds of years old. Because in my mind, I'm not at the edge of it. I'm not at the head of the table at the moment. But in my mind, I can imagine your ancestors, one sitting where you're sitting now, one sitting all the way at the other side, so butler serving you.
That actually was in the oak room, which is now the bar that we have set up.
In Will's generation, in your childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, that oak room used to be called the breakfast room. It's on the other side of the house. And the way the house was designed, you'd wake up, have breakfast in the oak room that your butler would deliver for you. And you would retire on the other side of the house overlooking the sunset. So the house is sort of laid out to view the sun. And I remember as a kid sitting in the oak room, my granny on one end of the table, grandpa on the other, and the butler at the time would come wheeling in with his trolley, to serve breakfast and all this sort of thing. It was very sort of old school.
Please, can you tell me that he served Cocoa Pops and Rice Krispies?
My grandpa used to play this trick that my dad adopted, and he would think it's so funny to hard-boil an egg, eat one side, like eat the entire egg, having cracked open one side of the egg, flip it over upside down, and then serve it to somebody else.
It's pretty average, isn't it?
It's a classic dad joke. So yeah, that was probably the most memorable breakfast.
So this room just sat here gathering dust. What was this room like when you first came here, Kassidy?
When I first came here, it had lots of very beautiful paintings, but yeah, it was very much almost a National Trust room where everything kind of had protective coverings on it. The light, of course. There's a funny thing behind you actually, which kind of captures Berwick. So you see the picture light up there?
I do.
That's actually loaf tin that's been painted gold.
It's a bacon tin.
That's a cheap alternative to actually buy.
That is absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking up above the grand fireplace, and there is one of those lovely kind of gold picture lights that you'd expect in any large home, but it's actually just a baking tin, which I would expect was quite good at banana bread. Banana bread would have been...
Or maybe once.
And again, looking behind me, It looks like there's quite a lot of urns there. Are there any family?
A lot of urns. Well, actually,
Family in
if you a family in the there'll be letters inscribed from the date that they were gifted or bought. In those urns, actually, I'm fairly certain in one of them there's 1947 date, which is when the dining table was bought. So he went and bought a bunch of urns too.
A classic shopping trip.
Yep.
Dining table, urn, essential.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Cocoa Pops. Yeah. So, Will, you were telling me about some of the stuff behind you, and I think I've noticed just below the extremely strange medieval scrum cap with pendant hanging down. I think I've noticed Winston Churchill.
Yeah, that's right.
So, who was a fan? Are you guys Winston Churchill fans?
Where did the Churchill bust come from?
I think it's one of those things that just got put up there and decades have passed.
I do really like when you look at Kassidy for some very kind of obscure knick-knack around the house. When did we get to... Kassidy isn't kind of the all-seeing eye.
Cassidy's the oracle. She's the history oracle. She knows more than I do. I don't know where Churchill came from, but I do know that there are a lot of, I think they're China cows dotted around the house. So behind you, there are 2 Jersey cows.
They're not from China.
No, made of China. Yeah.
I see what you mean.
They're definitely, I mean, did they have Jersey cows in China?
I don't know.
I doubt it because they're from Jersey, right?
So as I was driving in today, the cows were out.
Were they
very exciting.
Were they crossing the drive?
No, they were not crossing the drive, but they were looking really happy.
They're happy cows. They're very sweet cows. They're looked after well.
So when did your family get the cows?
The 5. There you go.
So James Watson, when he bought Berwick in a much smaller form, Will's great grandfather, also
was a cow.
He brought to the estate Daisy and Buttercup, which I cannot think of more classic
Howie names.
Yeah, Daisy and Buttercup, the 2 jerseys of Berwick. Now there's about 400 jerseys of Berwick.
Is there? I think there might be more than that.
I haven't counted.
There was when my grandpa used to run the farm. We don't run it in-house anymore, but back when we did, we had probably 200 cows.
They all had
300.
their own names. Every year, I think this is quite standard for farms, or maybe they are just numbers, but every year they would set a theme for the name. So all the calves born this year will be named after flowers. All the calves this year will be named with letters starting with E.
I remember walking into it's now the Dovecote, it used to be the farm office. I remember walking into the farm office, asking my grandpa what he's up to, and he's sort of over his laptop, hunched over, and he's describing how he's busy naming the cows. And I was like, wait, Grandpa, this is your job? You name cows? And he's like, yeah, I'm a farmer.
It's an important job.
Yeah, I didn't know this is what farmers do. They name cows.
Okay, so we're sitting around this table at the end of the year, and we've got a new crop of calves to name. What's the theme going to be?
What do you think?
Video game characters.
Video game characters.
Video game characters. Okay, all right.
It'd be quite an easy one.
Yeah.
And
who would be your favorite?
I would probably have Kratos. He's kind of badass. But you can't have a girl cow named Kratos. It's a bit weird.
I would have Zagreus.
Zagreus, what a name. I can imagine Zagreus leading a cow revolt like what happened last week. So tell us about the cow coup. Yeah, what? Yeah, tell us about it. What happened?
What do you want to know?
I think you've
how
got
it happened.
Perspective.
Well, yeah, we were here a couple of weeks ago at Berwick, and a fire engine was called, and the sirens were on and blazing, and we thought there was a fire in the house.
Yeah, we were pretty panicked.
This was just a casual Tuesday night dinner, wasn't
Casual
it?
Tuesday night,
Yeah.
and turns out a load of your cattle had gone into the river. I don't know how. What had they done?
Honestly, I don't have the detail, but what I do know is there were 2 fire trucks that turned up, and they said there are cows in the river, and I said, "Oh, it's news to me.
I didn't put them there.
It's
Nothing to do with me.
Don't know why they're in the river." Anyway, Kassidy was very keen to help, obviously, and I was too. But there's a fine line between sort of helping and getting too involved. And because the farm isn't managed by us in-house, there's a very limited amount that we can do.
So what can we do? Carry them out?
It's a weird one, isn't it? You want to look like you're being keen
Helpful.
and interested, but you're probably just causing...
We're definitely interested.
Extremely interested, yeah.
We don't want to make it worse, and it's kind of not...
One of my favorite phrases in the world to absolve myself of any responsibility for anything is too many cooks.
And it's not my circus, not my monkeys.
Or not my circus, not my cows.
Not my circus, not my cows.
Yeah, the problem is sometimes there aren't too many cooks, and you do really need to help out.
Actually, you are the chef.
You are the only chef.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and you know the room's on fire.
That's kind of what's challenging about this business. We just always need more staff, and there's no such thing as too many cooks. But the problem is when you've got 4 or 5 different people on hand. Sometimes they're doing 5 different tasks. Some of the times they're doing one task all differently. And there is it's a very hard business to systemize and staff properly because weddings can be very variable.
Well, when we first started renovating the house, there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen. It was Will's entire family, plus me, making decisions on what carpet color we were going to have in this room and what color curtains. So Jack, Will's older brother, would choose the carpet, and Connie, Will's sister, would choose the curtains, and Edwina, Will's mom, would choose the bed, the furniture, and then you'd end up with this really disjointed result. No one was really like communicating and gelling, I suppose.
So how do you guys make decisions? Husband and wife, business partners?
We asked the cows.
Recently, we had a very important decision to make.
Okay.
We were choosing the scent of our hand soaps. Yeah, it was a
battleground.
Yeah, there was a lot of selections. We went with basically we set up this row of like 12 different bottles on the bar and had our staff fill out an anonymous survey. So everyone had to stop what they were doing, put the Hoover down, put the kegs down. Everybody stop, go to the bar, smell all the soaps, and vote.
It did feel very strange putting a message in the group chat saying, "Hi everyone, there are a bunch of soaps in the bar. Please
go
smell them
right now."
Did you not feel like you had the executive authority just to pick a soap?
We did, but the soap I chose, everyone reported was old lady smell. So I wanted that feedback.
We
didn't end up going with my top choice.
But is this a democracy?
Not entirely. We do have like subgroups that make more important
You got the
decisions.
soap smelling group.
The soap smelling group is a town hall meeting, essentially.
I think some decisions have to be made unilaterally by 1 or 2 people. But when it comes to sort of decisions on soap, that can be universal.
Is soap smelling a little bit like wine tasting, where you've tasted one wine and then you have to pretend that you know the difference between all of the subsequent wines, and by that point you're just drunk off soap?
You know what's funny?
It smells like soap.
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit fruit.
Maybe. We had a member of staff. He had probably, I don't know, he'd sniffed maybe 6 or 7 soaps, and he comes up to me and he was like, "Well, I'm really enjoying this, but can I get a glass of water?"
Like it not need to taste.
Yeah, the poor chap has just like it annihilated his sense of smell by smelling every different. I mean, how do they do it in soap factories? They must have a soap smeller. Do you think?
You do, yeah, a perfumier.
Is that right?
I just made that word up.
We're all perfumiers here at Berwick.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So if I was to give you 2 brand new members of staff, the perfect staff, who would they be? What would they be doing? How could you utilize 2 extra people? This is not an advert for, well, maybe it is.
Right now?
Yeah. What do you want?
Totally you.
I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Will always wants unicorns. He wants someone who's an extremely skilled carpenter, but also can garden, but also knows bricklaying like the back of his hand, but also can make parking lots, but also make a breakfast. Yeah, he's always looking for a unicorn.
Foot rub. Yeah.
One thing that we don't have that I wish we did have is a maintenance guy.
Okay.
Like a DIY sort of hands-on handyman.
Yeah, we're rubbish at it.
I'm not a building person. I've tried.
So just odd jobs around the house.
Yeah, like loo roll holder gets torn off wall.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay.
And weddings checking in 2 days. It's like.
So what happens currently?
What happens now? We do it badly. And it's stressful because we've got.
Remember at the time that you thought you had shut down all the power for like the whole West Midlands because you hung a mirror? This is a story. We had a mirror to hang in the accessible bedroom or ground floor bedroom, Dovekit Suite. Will grabs our lackey, Henry. He's like 18 years old to help him. So it's 2 like fully adult men trying to hang a mirror together. The mirror's like reasonably sized. It was like drilling a screw in the wall. That was the problem. But as soon as they start drilling a screw into the wall, all the power shuts off. in the whole house. And then the texts start coming in from our Berwick estate group chat that's like, hey, did you guys just lose power? Hey, yeah, I did lose power. Did you lose power? And Will is like sweating bullets.
It started off because the house power shut off, and I was like, he's going to flick a fuse, or I've broken something. And I called the electrician, and he was like, oh, maybe he's done something bad. So I was stressed out and panicked. And then the messages started coming in from the property, and I was like,
all SY4.
All SY4. I was like,
my God,
this is really bad. I've made a mistake. I'm not hanging mirrors anymore.
That is unbelievable. So how many people do you think were affected by your terrible efforts?
It turns out it was a perfect coincidence. And there was a power cut in the area as I hit the end of the drill. And as the electrician was explaining to me, if I hit a live wire, I probably would have died, or I probably would have got seriously injured by electrocution or something like that. But I was fine. So after sort of reflecting on it, I was like,
I was looking for someone else to do that.
Yeah. So you want a handy person that can go around and do the jobs that you find really difficult and probably can't legitimately do.
I think everyone has their strengths and everyone has their weaknesses, and it's taken a few years to realize what my strengths and weaknesses are in this house, and you the same, Kassidy. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, my weakness is building.
List some of your strengths. What are the things that...
I smell great now. We've just been through like 100 different soaps.
You actually smell slightly conflicted and like old lady. So Kassidy, when speaking of learning what you think you might be good at and what you definitely know that you're not good at, when do you feel like you're in what the experts call flow? When you're
what's my zone?
Yeah, when you're just like, all right, the whole afternoon's gone, or I felt like I nailed that. That was me doing me as good as I possibly could have done.
Love giving tours. Love getting to know the people who are interested. That's like my bread and butter. And I really like the tedious hands-on jobs, like painting a fine line down the entire corridor, because we're in the process of gradually restoring the paint throughout the house to its original, the way it was in 1875. There's this really intricate pattern that runs throughout the entire corridor of each floor of the house. And so when I've got time, which is rare, usually between midnight and 4 a.m.
She's not kidding.
It kind of sounds like therapy as well. It sounds very therapeutic.
I love the tedious jobs. I love filling the hand soap bottles with more hand soap. I love
slowly and surely
tidying bathrooms during events, like checking the bins, making sure they're clean. So it's a bit of like, I like the people-facing stuff, but I think I wouldn't call myself an extrovert. So I need to recharge, and I recharge with those tedious, detail-oriented.
And am I right in saying that you do tours all through the week? I think, did you have a tour this Sunday?
Yep.
How did it go?
So in the middle of wedding season, it's quite hard to fit in the tours because the wedding takes place over the entire weekend, but most people are free to come visit for a tour on the weekend. So when the wedding checks out, typically around like 1:30 in the afternoon, I've got tours at 3 p.m., 5 p.m., 7 p.m. So we just finished a long weekend of a wedding.
Wow.
We're flipping the house around as quickly as we can, so it's not a complete nightmare. And then...
And you're putting on your smiley face and going for a tour. What would you say, you've obviously done a lot of these tours now, what would you say is the kind of wow moment for a lot of the couples that come in here? Is there a particular part of the house, or is it a view?
Can I answer this?
Yeah, of course you can.
People have said to me in the past that they love Berwick, but the biggest reason they've booked is because of Kassidy. I'm not.
Gosh, this is going to be a bit of couples therapy, but you guys.
You make that face. We've had bookings disappear because they wanted to be friends with Kassidy, and they didn't want to muddy the relationship. Was their term?
Once or
twice,
yeah.
Lovely people.
In your heart of hearts, Kassidy, was it worth it though? Because you could have got some nice money off of them. You're like, I like you kind of fine, but I really needed that wedding booking.
We could be friends and host your wedding.
I think the really charming thing about it, not to sound too corny, which I probably will, is the fact that it's a big old sort of stately home, and you expect some upper class toff to be waiting at the doorway with a cheesy grin and a tweed jacket, but it's not. It's this Floridian from Jacksonville. Saying howdy.
Oh, you've outed me now.
Sorry.
We're kind of speaking about that. How often do people say, "Oh my gosh, you guys are young"?
A lot.
Can I speak to the owner? That kind of thing.
Well, we often like to hop behind the bar during events, or like mop during events, or pick up a broken glass during events, and people will chat us up as we're doing that, and they never expect to see the owners of the house shaking a cocktail or, you know, checking the bathroom bins.
So in the UK, there's a program called The Undercover Boss, where, you know, some extraordinarily rich person deigns to go down to the shop floor where they've exploited millions of people and made loads of money, and they become, you know, someone that works on the shop floor, and they experience what it's like. I guess you're, without the millions of pounds, obviously, you're doing that. You're being the undercover boss. You're experiencing what it's like on the ground. You're getting real-time feedback as to what's going well and what's going badly, what the vibe is, and things like that.
I love it. Yeah. Being a fly on the wall at your own business, essentially.
And it's funny that the funnest thing as well is being a fly on the wall to seeing how the team works and how you're building the team. I think it's super rewarding.
I think it's really important to be seen doing the same things that your team does, because how could you respect a boss who doesn't know what you do and doesn't understand your pain points and doesn't, understand what goes into your...
You are the best boss.
I'm not your boss. I don't feel like anyone's boss. I want to understand, like, what could be better about each role, and the only way to do that is to do the role ourselves. So our first wedding season, it was literally just Will and I doing everything. We had Helen cleaning. She's amazing. She's our housekeeper. She was a one-woman machine cleaning this 18-bedroom house. Yeah, she's been about 4 years. Shout out to Helen. Stay with us forever.
Can you do some maintenance?
Maybe some gardening, maybe some bartending.
Do you know how to use a drill?
But yeah, I can't ask you. You can't ask people to do things that you
would do yourself.
Empathize with. Yeah.
What was the first thing, respectively? What was the first thing you got rid of once you went from doing the first season yourself? And I like your...
We'll have different answers, I think.
I'm sure you will. I like your way of thinking about it. You've got to do everything once in order to be able to empathize with the people that you get on board.
To figure out what's most important to outsource first, I guess.
What was the thing, Kassidy, that you were most desperate to outsource?
Gardening.
Is it really? Nice gardens, by the way.
Yeah, they're nice. It's 11 acres, so it's quite a bit to maintain. And Will, bless him, was...
bless him, I feel like...
Bless him.
Yeah, Will's being so nice to you. And you're being patronising.
So patronising. So nice.
I'm worst wife. You were doing your best, but it's a lot of coverage. And I didn't know that there was like... There's definitely like... You know, in Forrest Gump, he's mowing the grass and it looks amazing. I was like, Forrest Gump is mowing the grass and it looks amazing. Anyone can mow the grass and it'll look amazing. No, Forrest Gump had skill.
Did you just liken me to Forrest Gump? Or you didn't liken me to Forrest Gump?
Forrest Gump mowed it, looked really good.
No.
Kind of below.
Oh, no. Do you have a ride-on lawnmower?
Yeah, I love that thing.
That's the best thing in the world.
Yeah,
but the blade was like this. It was like, we didn't realize that the blade was like this. So the grass was cut at a slant and the dirt was ground up on half of it.
So instead of cutting the lawn, you just ground up some dirt.
I'm not a patient person. And I think you're the same, Stephen. In terms of building work.
Have you seen my lawn?
Garden.
It's maybe not 11 acres, but it's
no, you do have a good lawn, to be fair. But we've talked about maintenance a little bit, haven't we? And sort of DIY. You're not a huge DIYer.
It's not my sweet spot. It's not my sweet spot. And I think, patience is a massive thing.
I grew up in a massive DIY family. Like, my brother needed dental work. I'm really revealing my redneck roots here. My brother had a chipped tooth. It was very sharp. He wanted to go to the dentist to get it shaved down because obviously it was like cutting the inside of his mouth. And my dad took him into the garage with a Dremel and shaved, like sanded my brother's tooth in our garage so that it wouldn't be so sharp. So we're a very DIY family.
So some other interesting parts of this room, just scouting around, the receptacles.
So this room is now what we often use for breakfast for overnight guests. So people who stay in the house will gather here in the morning and we provide either like a cold continental breakfast or hot and cold cooked breakfast if that's what they prefer. We make use of what we've got here at Berwick.
Absolutely.
We are planning on, breakfast is quite a new thing for us, but we are planning on investing in some proper crockery going forward.
Okay. But I'm looking to my left right now and I can see some Cocoa Pops, which I'm delighted by.
Do you want to describe what they're in, Steve?
Yeah, they look some very ornate china.
Good at that.
Yeah, let's just...
So when we added all these ensuites at Berwick, we had quite a few chamber pots that were left behind in bedrooms. And Purely decorative. Haven't been used in
Never.
the last.
Still wrapped up. Still says made in China on the bottom.
They are absolutely beautiful. And they're chamber pots.
They are
You would have
chamber
never
pots.
thought it.
They actually made it into a wedding at one point. So we had a wedding. They decided to self-cater.
Not practically.
They did make it into a wedding. So wedding we had early this year, wanted to self-cater their wedding breakfast. Totally fine with that because we allow any caterers here at Berwick. So their mums prepared a massive salad, and then they realized as it was time to start serving that they hadn't hired salad bowls for the tables. So they're opening every cupboard in our kitchen looking for whatever they could find, and they stumbled across our chamber pot storage. And being very innocent and sweet and of the modern century, they didn't realize what they were. So they gave them a quick rinse, put the salad in them in chamber pots, and put all these different chamber pots out on the wedding breakfast table with tongs.
And everyone was fine?
Yeah. I mean, some people definitely knew what it was.
Do you think? How do you know?
Because they only gave it a quick rinse.
That's all it needed.
Have you seen yellow salad?
I hope that they have got a good sense of humor about it, because obviously all the photos from their wedding breakfast are
Chamber pots.
feature Victorian.
Oh, that's fantastic.
On the tables.
So,
The norm.
so when you're hosting these weddings, obviously you're married, but you might get married again. Do you pick up things that you wish you had done at your wedding, or things that you're like, that is an unbelievably good idea, or I wish my wedding was a little bit more like that? Have you got any good inspiration from what have you loved?
Well, first off, our wedding was a hot mess.
It was here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite.
But we didn't know you yet. It was actually at the Shropshire Registry Office, which is a beautiful concrete, very I don't know what the word is, imposing building. Anyhow, we got married there legally and then had a party, like an after party here. And we had all these elaborate plans. We had about 70 guests RSVP'd. We had planned the whole thing in about a month because my parents were coming from Florida for Christmas.
It was COVID.
It was in the middle of COVID. It was 2021. And we thought, oh, my parents are making the effort to make this long trip for them from Florida. It's a good 18 hours to get over here. So we thought, why don't let's just get married then when they're here. So that was maybe in November, and they were coming in December. So we had a month to put the whole thing together. Anyhow, we had about 70 RSVPs. We had 2 bands, catering, cocktails, the standard stuff. And on the morning of the wedding, I was getting ready in the beach suite, which is our bridal suite. And there's a knock on the door. And I'm like, who is it? It's Will. I need to talk to you. I'm like, oh, go away. I'm getting ready. No, seriously, I need to talk to you. And I was like, oh, he's backing out. Something big has happened. But I go up to the door and crack it open just a sliver. And he says, my sister's just tested positive for COVID. And we were all staying at Berwick together. And we had all been out with her the night beforehand. So we had to do the right thing, of course, and call all our guests one by one. While my hair is being curled, I'm on the phone. Beep, 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 beep. Hey. Because it was right before Christmas and we didn't.
It was that horrible time, wasn't it, where there was about to be another lockdown, or they gave us Christmas off or something like that, wasn't it? It was not much fun. It was
a tense period. So we did the right thing and called everyone, including all our staff, all the vendors we had hired. And we lost both our bands. Our numbers went from 70 guests to about 15 guests.
Lots of dinner.
Yeah, the caterers we had prepaid for food for everyone. So we had food for 70 people, for 15 people. And we had cocktails. We had 200 cocktails that we had prepaid.
I remember sitting in here, actually, the dining room, and the guy just kept delivering espresso martinis to me. Oh my God. He just kept delivering these espresso martinis.
Did you keep asking for espresso martinis?
No, just putting them in front of me because we prepaid a certain amount. And I just felt obligated. So I was buzzing for 3 days.
Not because you just got married, but because...
I mean, yeah.
You're not married. That's all that mattered.
Was it one of those, it was a bit of a hot mess, but it was quite memorable?
Yeah, I have no regrets. And I think we hadn't really, at that point, we hadn't decided that we were doing this yet, honestly. So it was, now that we're actually doing weddings quite regularly, when things start to go a bit awry, I love to just sit with the bride and groom, just be like, have I ever told you about our wedding? Just to
think this is bad.
Yeah, just understand what that feels like to have the whole thing crumble in front of you. And I have no regrets. We're still married. We're happily married. It was fun. We had great memories. We got great photos.
And you get to go to weddings every week, pretty much.
Every single week.
So what single thing from maybe, let's say, since the beginning of the year, or since the beginning of last year, what kind of stands out as, all right, that was a thing that was really cool at a wedding that we hosted, and I wish we could do that.
There have been a lot. It's hard to pick one, but one that stands out to me is the llamas.
We
We
got
had a wedding
llamas.
bring alpacas.
Was it alpacas?
Yeah, they're alpacas.
No one knows the difference, don't worry.
Mini llamas?
No.
Yeah, are they the same size?
I liked the same, or another wedding had surprise dancers. That was quite cool.
That was fun.
We've got a
What kind of
wedding-
dances?
oh, like
Llama dancers.
The same one.
That was a great wedding.
we've got one this New Year's Eve that's coming up that has aerialists in the
Oh,
main hall.
Yeah.
They're going to be suspended. in a-
We might film our next episode in the main hall because it is such an amazing
It
space.
is cool.
So when you guys were young, you obviously didn't know each other. What did you think you were going to be when you were older? Maybe Cassidy.
Not living in Shropshire.
I was going to. I assume it
How
wasn't.
young are we talking?
I'm going to say between the ages of 6 and 11.
I was going to be an archaeologist. I was going to
Oh,
dig up
right.
dinosaur bones. I just thought dinosaurs were so cool.
Okay.
That was going to be my job. And I kind of went that way. I went into biology in school, so I stuck with it. But you had a very different change, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah, you were going to be a magician, weren't you?
I've actually
I've
heard
gone-
this. I've heard you're quite good at
I've gone through
magic
it.
tricks.
A lot of different iterations of Will.
Good to speak about yourself in the third
Yeah.
person as well.
Very human.
Yeah, very human, very real. I was like maybe 15 or 16 and I was super, too old, but I was super into magic tricks.
Did that go down well at boarding school?
I was really cool. No, genuinely, I was really, because I got quite good at
It
it.
was actually
Oh, okay.
And I would spend more time practicing magic than doing classes or anything else or even making friends.
Speaking
So,
of people.
speaking with people. So I was very good at, and so I ended up in the summers going to London and performing at parties and getting paid.
Did you?
Yeah, to go around as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, go around birthday parties and 50th birthday parties and perform magic for people. I got paid for it. It was good money. It was like 600 quid a night for a 15-year-old.
Really?
Yeah, I got paid well.
That's more than you get paid now. I can imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't ever whip out a magic trick at a wedding, do you?
And no.
You ought to.
You should. It's an additional service. Weirdly enough, I think that those two backgrounds aren't massively unaligned to what you guys do now. I mean, so archaeologist, this house is extremely old and you keep digging up new interesting things. And I know that you're working, is it right that you're working on looking through the archives and getting some local busybodies to help you out?
Yep. So we've got loads of paperwork, hoarded antiques, things that were sort of mysteries we're sorting through. The cellar was chock full to the brim with handwritten letters from the trenches of World War I,
Wow.
letters back and forth as they were designing Berwick House. So it's digitizing stuff like that and preserving it to share. We've been working closely with the Shropshire archives this year, especially
And
That's really cool.
making that stuff public because it was just stored in our cellar.
Yeah.
We've got documents of buildings that hadn't been built either, like the
Yeah.
Garden Temple.
There's
which
a
is
garden
really cool.
temple.
It's really, really cool.
He designed it. We've got the drawings for it, the spec for it. He just probably ran out of money.
Was this your great
James
Grandfather?
Watson. Yeah.
the brains behind this current iteration of
The cheese
house?
guy, yeah.
The cheese guy.
The cheese guy, the guy that made his money in cheese,
Indeed.
The smelly dude.
the smelly dude. Quick fire round. What is the best thing that's happened this week at Berwick?
Cassidy,
Put me on the spot.
you go first.
Best thing that happened at
Yeah,
Berwick.
something that's happened that you're really pleased about, happy with, excited by.
Other than the hand soaps.
Yeah, okay, all right. Apart from the hand soaps. What's gone well?
We had 2 trials with carpenters/gardeners. That went very well. 2 trial shifts.
Just one individual person who's both?
Yeah, but we
Mhm.
found 2 of them, and we liked them both, so we decided to make 1 roll, 2 rolls.
Wow.
Yep.
Are they did they cut your hedges out the front?
They did. What do you think?
Oof. I like those hedges.
Really?
They've been
Shaped
cut,
them.
yeah,
Like
they're
shaped
kind of topiary shaped to is it a star? It looks like a star, even if it's not supposed to be a
It's
star.
hard to choose one thing because we also finalized our booth design for the National Wedding Show happening in
Oh,
October.
Great.
Yeah, with
So-
your wife's help.
Yes, absolutely. So when is the National Wedding Show?
October 19th and 20th.
And you're going to do some VR-y stuff.
We're going to do
that
some
right?
VR. Yeah, we're going to get some people really
I'm
sick.
going to bring my magic tricks.
Whilst they're wearing a VR headset, they can't see you. It's a total waste.
Can't go wrong.
It can't go wrong. Is this your
Nothing
card?
to lose.
Is this your card?
It's just good for the confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the national wedding, I assume that's a pretty big deal.
It's our first like real marketing effort because everything else has been kind of word of mouth or just casting a line and see what bites. But this is our first like attempt.
Have you been to a wedding show before? Have you seen
No.
what your competition's like? So this, you really are the
Nothing.
newbie.
I
feel there's some kind of American film that can, you are the new kids on the block, and all the, the storied venues are going to push you over and
so young, so
steal
naive.
your playing cards.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I went to
If you
plenty
saw a
of
magic trick of mine, you'd be very jealous.
jealous. I am jealous.
Cool.
I can make all your business disappear.
The blink of an eye. The wedding industry is small enough that word gets around quite quickly. So we'll be on our best behavior.
So no funny business.
It's generally speaking, I find it's a funny old industry. I didn't know it was an industry until very recently, obviously, but everyone sort of knows each other.
Try to be quite collaborative because like a lot of the pain points are the same in the wedding industry, and it's good to like brainstorm with other people on things they've come up against and how they've got through it.
And from a business perspective, if you're on that booth and you're surrounded by 9 other stately home wedding venues, how would you differentiate yourself? What would be your USP?
Soaps.
It's got to be soaps.
I don't know this for sure, but I think there's probably no one quite as young as us doing this. And it seems to be quite rare that the owners of the house are the ones running it. The whole kind of image that we like to share with clients is authenticity. Like, this is us. This is what you get. We're here to help support you. We really want to make it work because it's ours. We're not like hired in to do this. So I think that sets us apart.
It's the sense of infectious enthusiasm that you have for the place and for making it work that maybe sets you out over and above people that have leased a big place and are scrambling around trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as I say, because we don't have a huge amount going out in terms of rent, we have a lot more in our pocket that we can invest elsewhere, such as the team or the house or the business or the client's experience or anything else. For example, when clients book, we send them a branded champagne flute.
Oh, lovely.
With some nice champagne. And we can do fun things like that because we don't have a huge rent bill like other venues might do. So that's kind of nice to have.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Next question. What's the worst thing that's happened this week? What's been an absolute shocker?
I drank too much coffee on Tuesday. That was scary.
This is like your espresso martinis at your wedding. You're just buzzing for a few days. So why did you drink too much coffee and what happened?
This is the endless question. Why did you drink too much coffee?
Yeah.
I feel like I ask it daily.
You're just a bit shaky.
Can't really specify it to a particular week.
As I say, you wake up in the morning with some things on your calendar and you get a few of them done, but you end up with more things on your calendar than you had originally planned and a longer to-do list. So a good day is when you tick off 50% of those to-do lists. A bad day is when you get 50% added to that to-do list. And that happens a lot, in my experience.
I think the worst thing that happened this week was one of our loos was blocked at a wedding, and then people drank quite a bit and were sick in the blocked loo.
Oh, no.
And then it sat there for a few days because we only do one wedding a week, so we have
just change over.
We have a buffer, and it just sat there for a couple of days while I worked up the courage.
Did you do it?
I didn't do it.
Who did do it?
I finally was ready to go.
Was it Helen?
Oh no, it was Kaylee. She's our new house.
Shout out to Kaylee.
Poor Kaylee.
She's only been here like 2 weeks.
Yeah, she's been here about 2 weeks.
Please stay, Kaylee.
She really went full tilt. Please stay, Kaylee. Please don't leave.
No.
Oh.
Make Kaylee do this.
So actually, if Kaylee were on the podcast, that's definitely her worst point of the week.
Yeah.
I think you're just projecting.
It's her worst point of her whole
life
employment at Berwick.
Okay, that's a pretty bad one. What is the strangest job or thing you've done this week? And when I say strange, I mean, I work 9 to 5 staring at a computer, just tapping keys every day. So strange from the perspective of a jobbing office work.
It's funny because what's strange to you is no longer strange to us. So we have to kind of like pretend.
I've got it.
Go on.
I've got it. Are you sure?
Uh-oh.
No, it's good. No, it's funny.
This could be couples therapy time.
No. It's related to a family that stayed recently, and they were lovely, nicest family. We had a fantastic wedding.
Oh no, I know what you're gonna say.
No, it was a chap came running downstairs and said to me, "There's a mouse in the drawer. And I was obviously panicked about a mouse being in the drawer. So I followed him upstairs to his room with a plastic bag and some gloves and mask, whatever. And I opened the drawer for him as he pointed to it. And he said, there's the mouse. And in the corner of the drawer was a ball of string.
What?
And I picked up the string.
With his gloves?
With my gloves and my mask and my goggles.
Gotta be fair.
And I picked up the string and I said, in a stupid Will way, I said, this is string. And he said, no, it is mouse. Is it a dead mouse? And I said, no, this is string. And he was so insistent that it was a mouse or a dead mouse or something like that. I had to, we made friends.
Will woke me up on Sunday morning, or maybe it was Saturday morning, wedding morning, and said, don't be alarmed, but someone who stayed last night had to go to the hospital.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I said, what? And I was like, what happened? What was it something that was our fault? And he was like, no, it was not our fault, but a gentleman's penis exploded.